Jewish opinion is split.
Demonstrators were part of a group calling itself Jewish Voice for Peace. The spokesman for the group said they oppose Israel's occupation of Palestinian territory. They briefly blocked.
Jews to say that being against Sharon and the occupation is not anti-Semitic. In fact, it's about Jewish survival.
Because I'm Jewish and I'm opposed to the Israeli bombing of the Gaza.
As a Jew, I'm totally appalled and ashamed by it and want to speak out with others against this carnage.
And I'm a committed Jew who believes in Jewish ethics. And Jewish ethics are being torpedoed by the attack on Gaza.
Je fais partie de l'Union juive française pour la paix. En tant que juive et que petite fille d'une personne qui a perdu toute sa famille pendant la Seconde Guerre mondiale, je ne supporte pas ce que Israël fait subir aux Palestiniens depuis maintenant 60 ans.
In the 1930s and the 1940s, the Jewish community was split down the middle. Some of you may remember the American Council for Judaism, Elma Berger, who was against Israel's being established. It was a terrible, terrible time for the Jewish community because we were so divided and so powerless.
The Central Council of Jews in Germany has strongly criticized the awarding of the Adorno Prize to Judith Butler because, they say, she's acting against Israel by supporting the boycott, divestment, and international sanctions campaign against Israel.
If a woman supports boycott, divestment, and sanction activities against the State of Israel, then she is not to be awarded a prize no matter what else she does.
But the debate goes on between those who believe that criticizing the Israeli government has nothing to do with anti-Semitism, and those who believe that hypercriticism of Israel is in fact a new way of anti-Semitism.
Because in many places of the world, anti-Semitism is not acceptable. Every time there is conflict in the Middle East between Israel and somebody else, the level of anti-Semitism spikes. Why? Because the anti-Semites come out of their woodwork, and now they can express themselves in their anti-Semitism in what they consider a legitimate, licensed way.
They are not ready to hear criticism, and it's very easy to blame people who criticize certain acts of the Israeli government as anti-Semitics and to bring up the Holocaust and the suffering of the Jewish people, and that justify everything we do to the Palestinians.
We are here, Jews from around the world, at the World Zionist Congress, to ask the question, that we didn't see on your agenda. What are you doing to end the occupation?
What is doing here in Jerusalem?
That affect the minds of, is that fair?
As we share their hopes,
That was Ray Abalea, a Jewish-American activist with the group Code Pink. She was disrupting Netanyahu's speech standing in the Congressional Gallery. Often in this country, the Jewish community is portrayed as monolithic when it comes to dealing with Israel policy and supporting the Israeli government.
For sure, there's a culture of silence and fear in the Jewish community around speaking out about this. And it's certainly I get some blowback from family and friends, but I think it's so important to follow my principles, my integrity, and my heart.
We are here as Jewish people in Britain so that the world knows that Israel's crimes are the crimes of an occupying power. They have nothing whatsoever to do with religion. We stand against Israel.
The land that Israel is defending, they are illegally occupying. It can be stopped. It has to be stopped. It must be stopped.
One of the dimensions of the problem is what a number of people have called moral narcissism, which is this, it's an overwhelming concern about personally being a moral person and really not caring about the consequences outside of one's own solipsistic concerns.
I really hope one day that the people in Palestine and Israel can live side by side with full equality and justice. There'll be no more walls, there will be no more checkpoints, there'll be no more stealing homes and stealing water.
Occupation has constricted our throats and fattened our tongues.
We refuse to have our histories appropriated by a corporate war machine.
We will not call this liberation.
We will not accept a legacy of terror.
We will not quietly witness the violation of human rights in Palestine.
We are young Jews.
And we get to decide what that means.
Because they are so sensitive and because they are so good-hearted, all I have to do is to go out there and apply this good-heartedness in the world, and it will be improved. And wicked Israel is not as good-hearted as I am.
When they think Israel is behaving badly, they feel some collective guilt, and they need to get out from under the burden of that guilt. Even though they say they're for social justice, that's not it, because it doesn't matter to them that hundreds of thousands of, or tens of thousands of Arabs have killed Arabs in gruesome ways. This is all beside the point, because the point for them is not social justice, it's expiation.
We will lead toward a two-state solution because we care deeply about Israel's future and sympathize with the right of the Palestinian people to freedom and dignity.
J Street essentially is dividing the Jewish community, and it's making pro-Israel activity harder. It tries to block strong pro-Israel advocacy in synagogues and in the JCRCs and in the federations.
And J Street's goal was to weaken AIPAC. That was its goal, its express goal. It said AIPAC doesn't speak for us. AIPAC is your grandfather's pro-Israel group.
Well, you know, first of all, it's important to realize that AIPAC is an organization of organizations. There's an organization of the presidents of the Jewish organizations, many of them unelected, not representative of any particular constituency, except financed by a relative handful of people who claim to speak on behalf of the whole Jewish community. It's called the lobby. But the point is that J Street is attempting to create a forum for a debate. AIPAC is trying to silence any debate. That's the difference.
What you were saying is that anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are two different things.
They are two different things.
No, sometimes they are the same thing.
Speaking with David Hirsch made me realize that it is very difficult to represent any other approach in the Jewish world. Those who try to say anything different are being silenced. Hirsch was right. The occupation as a possible reason for justified criticism was not mentioned.
No, but you see what he's doing? He's doing exactly he has the problem of the left. And here's the problem.
Who?
Here's the problem. You. This analysis. This is just like the wife who's beaten by her husband, who goes to the psychiatrist and she says, it must be something I did, because if it's not something I did, then it's hopeless. Then he's a madman. Well, you need to find something you did to cause the hatred against you. But guess what? It's nothing that you did, and it's too bad. You are in chaos, and the world is dangerous.